Hello and welcome to this special program. I am Cyril Stober, and the Nigerian National Assembly has taken a historic step in the development of the country, the amendment of the Constitution of the Federal Republic. The first step in the process has taken place at the level of the National Assembly, that's the Senate and the House of Representatives. The other leg, of course, will be at the state level with the state houses of assembly. Now, expectedly, the process is the subject of national discourse. On this program, I'll be speaking with the presiding officer of the Senate of the Federal Republic, Dr. Bukola Saraki, President of the 8th Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly. Distinguished Senator, thanks for being with us on this forum.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, this is seen as a major step and perhaps the biggest achievement so far of the 8th National Assembly. But Nigeria is a complex society, some 30 or so key areas which have been looked into. What do you and your colleagues envisage with this amendment?
Well, thank you. As you rightly said, it's a big step. Any constitutional amendment is a big process. It takes a lot of consultation, which we've done. And we hope that with this amendment, we will be building a stronger country. We'll be able to deepen our democracy. We would improve the process of electoral processes, have freer and more credible elections. We will expand participation in the process. Our budget processes, of course, will have improved. We will have a more viral, united country. We will position the country in the economy side where you need a country that begins to make the environment interesting for investment. Our judiciary also, we've tried to look at ways in which to speed up the process, which is also important in the area of investment. By and large, these are demands that have been pending for a long time, that are long overdue, and it's taken so long to get that. And one of our promises at the beginning of the Senate National Assembly was that we are going to address the issue of constitutional review, and we feel that this is one of those promises that, again, we have kept, and we believe that the country is much definitely.
Some people say this is probably not an amendment, so why don't we just rewrite it?
So, I mean, there are significant amendments that need to be done, but just 29. I don't think it's right, but there are specific areas. As I said, if you look at the budget process, one of the issues that have always been with us is that the president can submit the budget anytime within the year. This tries to say you must submit 90 days before end of the year, and the National Assembly must pass. So we hope that with this amendment, we'll put behind us, for example, something like that has been lingering for many years. Secondly, also, as I said, if you look at the issue of pre-election tribunal issues that have, sometimes you see members of parliament being in office for 3 years. After 3 years, a case is still in court, and those kind of issues. Again, we want to tighten. I think there's some of them are oversights that should have been addressed much earlier on. I don't think that means that the Constitution itself needs to be rewritten, but there will be holes here and there that we think we have addressed.
That probably brings us to the timing of this amendment, and it's about 2 years to the next general election, and it's seen as record timing because there's so much more time to go with this if it scales through. But again, on the other hand, some would say there are other issues that might arise given to that. So why not?
Well, you know, as I said, it was one of the promises made, and it's a record time. I mean, I was in the Senate in this last 7 And we didn't get to constitutional amendment until very dying moments of the Seventh Senate. And generally it's a process that, because of all the consultations that need to take place, it always takes a long time. And the fact that we've been able to do in just over 2 years just shows the kind of synergy that we've been able to build, not only in the Senate, also build in the House of Representatives, and also with the state assemblies, because most of the consultations that were done by the Constitutional Review, especially the last session, also involved state assemblies. We've learned from the past and see that we bring a lot of people, a lot of the stakeholders on board early on and get their buy-in, so that by the time we send it to the states, we hope that we'll get a high percentage of success.
With the benefit of the knowledge of what happened in past Senates that couldn't go beyond this process in record time, was it easy? How easy was it?
It wasn't easy. I mean, I've commended the chairman of the two houses on the Constitutional Review and the members, and also the members of, the entire members of the parliament, because it's a lot of back and forth, you know, because you're talking about things that affect people's lives now and future generations, and even now, more so now, especially now that we must admit that I said earlier on this week that there's a large amount of mistrust out there. People we're beginning to question even the unity of the country, and when you have that kind of environment, then issues like this even become more difficult. Also, there is the place, as I said, there is polluted. If you, some of the commentaries you see, you know, the hate speeches, we raise on tempo on issues that, you know, are very sensitive. So to do a constitutional amendment review under this kind of environment and be able to even pass it through, I think it is an achievement. It's not a small feat to be able to achieve that, because everybody is edgy. Everybody is looking at the documents. If there's something one part wants, one interest group want to sneak in or the other, and I think that to have been able to, if, as I said, if we had done this like 9 months ago, I think there's some parts that did not pass that would have passed easily, but the atmosphere at the moment made it a bit more difficult.
So that brings us to the question of the unity that you spoke about, even within the legislature itself. It's clear some of those issues went through. There was some form of unanimity. It wasn't so for others. There was a division. You clearly brought up the question of a divided house. How did that go through?
No, you call it a divided house. You mean, you say that you raise the concerns of certain number of senators, member of House of Representatives. Because if you look at the, for example, devolution, for example, is a good example. My view is that that will have passed 8 months ago. But the events recently in the country, the different concerns either in the north and comments in regards to Arewa youth, comments in the south, regards the issue of the Biafra group and some of the concerns in the other parts of the country, I think has created an atmosphere, and also, as I said, some of the commentaries, when you read some of the editorials or sometimes even news, sometimes that are not true, but all hype to raise this tension and concern. And I think that, you know, made a lot of the members of parliament that did not support devolution to think maybe there was more to it, maybe it was a backdoor way for restructuring, which is one of the words being used, banter around the place. And as such, what could have been an easy sale, people felt, no, let me study this one carefully. Let me be sure I'm on the right page here with my constituency. Let me go back and consult more. I don't want to rush into this, but by our processes, it must come for to be voted on. And unfortunately, those areas did not pass through because of the skepticism by certain members of parliament representing different constituencies.
But Senate President, you would recall that the governing APC, which is your party, had made some promises when it campaigned, when it was asking for the votes of Nigerians. And this, staying with the devolution of powers, this was one of them. And this has suffered a defeat. Means the party couldn't galvanize and deliver on its earlier promise?
Well, first of all, even if the party, even if all APC senators voted for it, it would not pass because it needs 2/3. So in issues like this, it goes beyond party. I'm sure majority of the APC senators had a position, but I think that even the party at the moment is set up a committee to look into it. So it's clear that we're not all very sure what we all mean by restructuring. There might be a promise that let us look at it, but I think that we need to carry everybody along in a matter as important as this. I don't think that we can stampede people that either are not against it, but they're not sure about it. This country belongs to all of us, and I think in a matter as sensitive as this, we need to dialogue more. As I explained, even ordinary bills, forget constitutional review bills, ordinary bills, sometimes you need many attempts to go through. It can be defeated in day one, but maybe in a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, it will go through. Even America that we copied, if you've been following their health bill, they've attempted this 7 times in the last few months, trying to see whether it will pass through. You know, you try, it don't. So the fact that devolution has not gone through now does not mean that it will never go through. It doesn't mean that the party has failed. It means that we have not succeeded now. But as I said, constitutional amendment sometimes does not take one attempt. So I believe that with the committee set up by the party, with the action taken by the northern governors and traditional rulers, with the effort also by the Senate and House of Reps, that the members also should go back during this recess to consult with the constituencies. I'm hoping that by the time we all come back in September, maybe we'll be ready to have a second look at it.
Okay, just as you said, the party has also set up a machinery. Now, would the outcome of that be without prejudice to what's already going on in the National Assembly?
Well, I don't know what the final report of that is, but I'm hoping that there will be consultations between both members of the party in Parliament, the party itself, the governors, key stakeholders, so that we can have what I fear as a common position. I keep on emphasizing that it is by dialogue. It is not by either we want to bully certain or stampede people into taking certain positions. That's why constitutional amendment is 2/3. You must have the buy-in of majority of the people. And to do that, it really is by dialogue. So my own advice, my own, that I'll keep on consulting that we should do is let us continue the dialogue. And I'm hopeful because some of the issues there do not in any way have any, will harm any part of the country or bring about, but everybody must understand it. And if members of parliament even understand it, they must make their constituency understand it as well. So, and in understanding that, we must get everybody to be on the same page.
Just a little longer on this issue of the devolution of powers. You've been quoted as saying it might be revisited. Are you confident that the last has not been heard of it?
Yeah, that's I'm sure about.
So what about the next stage of it? National Assembly has taken the step, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now it is at the state level. How confident are you that
I'm confident
it will sail through? I know that the Conference of Speakers issued a statement commending the National Assembly and hoping to borrow a leaf from the process here. But you will recall, Senate President, that some of these issues had been discussed in the past and taken to the state assemblies, and they were wrongly defeated.
Well, that's why we've split into about 29 bills, right? We started with 33. I mean, that's what was laid on the report. 29 have passed. So as 29 is going, 29 or 29, I think, or 28 is going to the states. I'm confident majority of that will pass. I can't put my hand on my chest and say the whole 29 will pass. There might be, again, we have to understand that even in the houses, they have their constituencies. You know. They attended our last review session, so they have been carried along in the whole process. When we started this process from day one, when they all came to my office at the beginning of this tenure, we got them involved. We told them this is what we're going to do. We're not just going to do the review at National Assembly and just send it to you. You're going to be part of what we're doing. Now, that still doesn't mean we'll get 100%. when we get to the states, there will be some other issues. But I think I'm confident that, by and large, majority will sail through. I'm hoping that we'll get a 90% success rate in the states. And if we do that, I think, we have achieved a lot.
All right, but halfway through speaking about achievements, are you satisfied with what the 8th Senate has been able to do under your leadership?
Well, I think the best way to achieve that is really by looking at our records and looking at what we've been able to do. Prime responsibility of the National Assembly is to legislate and pass laws. And if you look at what we've been able to do in 2 years, just 26 months in the Senate, we've been able to pass over 125 bills. If you look at the 5th, 6th, and 7th Senate, the 7th Senate, I was part of that. In 4 years, we passed 129 bills. The 6th Senate only passed about 72 bills, and the 5th Senate about 129, all in 4 years. So basically, one of the major cardinal of how to measure, parameters of how to measure we've done, we've surpassed every single Senate before our time. We've also been able to address a lot of interventions and petitions. Now, that is important for me because it means that we're responding to the people who represent their concerns. And that is one of, apart from passing law, that's key. I mean, for example, if we look at intervention, just recently there was a problem in Lautech, for example, that been shut for a number of years, and we took up the matter, and now the states are doing something about it, the Ministry of Education. So the confidence we are giving the Nigerian people that there's somewhere you can go to be able to address things that concern you. And the more we can strengthen that, the better it is for our democracy. If you look at even recently the issue of the studies, the religious and Islamic studies, where we had a delegation from Cannes, not long within few days of them visiting us, immediately the Minister of Education re-emphasized, I mean, they had already taken a position on it, but came out clearly, government came out clearly and took a position to address that issue, that we must revert back to the schools teaching different. Queen's College, one of the Unity schools also, had issues. It was after they came to visit us again, we intervened, and immediately, of course, money was provided in the budget. The executive also took it up. So that kind of response, we begin to see it. And so from that point of view, I would say that if you base it on the kind of things that we're doing, for example, openness of NAS, for many years that's not been done. There are bills that, like the petroleum bill, that's been not been able to pass for over. So when you say our achievements, I think our achievements, as I said, should be judged by our records.
All right, we'll still come to the petroleum bill in just a moment, but this activity is reflective of even the amendment of the Constitution which the Senate has embarked on. But yes, we said earlier that at some point there was some form of unanimity, but at another point it clearly showed the divisions. But let's go back a little bit. Your emergence as President of the Senate was turbulent, to say the least, and at one point in time quite a number of Nigerians felt that this Senate wasn't going anywhere with those issues. But it would seem that some form of unity has been forged. How did that come about?
Well, I believe that from a lot of from day one, I think that majority of our colleagues had given me a lot of support. We had a few that were not on board, but we've been able to have an approach that we will try to ensure that we bring everybody on board. It's like any election. When you come out of an election, there are those that support you, but once you win, you must be a leader for all, and that is what we have worked hard on since I emerged, to make sure that we carry everybody along. We'll have achieved it much earlier. Unfortunately, there were a lot of outside forces that were interfering in some of our processes, and that's what delayed the process. That is why a lot of the events that were happening outside the chamber were not reflected in the chambers. In chambers, you find that there was unity, there was cohesion, we're all working in one direction. And then finally, the few left, we were able to bend here, make concessions here, bring everybody together, and that's what we've been able to achieve. And then the maturity, the patriotism, and the fact that we all believe that we're here to serve the country first. The issue that really arose from our election was back to the backbone of the fact that there must be independence of the three arms of government. You know, that elections of the National Assembly should be largely left in the hands of those who are there. Yes, they should be guided by the party, and over the years they have been guided by parties saying either we zone to here or we zone to there, but it has always been resisted. Outside, people should say it must be Mr. A or it must be Mr. Y, and I think that is what was resistant, and I think it has laid the foundation. It's something that going forward as well will strengthen our democracy when we continue to strengthen the independence. And I think by and large that was where majority of the senators stood. And then finally, as you say, as we worked along, a lot of the senators then came on board.
So how much of this came to play during this process of amending the Constitution?
The Constitution amendment had nothing to do with issue of emergence of amendment of Constitution is largely the issues you saw there were really issues back at home. It's all, as I say, all politics is local. If you look at the pattern of how senators voted, you see there was a trend based on the constituencies they represented, not on the politics of the Senate at all. I mean, if you look also, I mean, there's the House. If you look, there's a clear similarity. If you go and look at the pattern of how members in the House voted, you see that members in a particular state, either Senate or House of Rep, pretty much voted in the same line. So that shows you that there's nothing, it was not any internal politics of National Assembly that dictated how the voting pattern of Constitutional Amendment went.
Well, Senate President, let's look at one of those bills that is of peculiar interest to just about the entire nation, since it talks about the main source of its revenues, the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill. This has been passed by the Senate. There are so many other related bills which are still pending, like post-community bill, the Industry Administration Bill and all that. When are we looking at these bills to go through this?
Well, as you know, host community bill, one of the major concerns, of course, of the host communities, what is the new petroleum bill going to do to improve the conditions of the host communities and their participation? We've taken that as a bill, the fiscal bill also, what are the taxations, the terms of engagement, of investment, and those kind of issues also are there. We've passed that to second reading now, so it's going to community level, and I'm hoping that all the stakeholders, this is the most important bills really. I mean, governance is important, but this one is, because this is what decides whether it is commercially viable for the oil companies to invest. This also shows how competitive we are as a country, because there are many places where you can go and drill oil today, and we've got to be competitive. And also, this also affects the revenue that also comes to the Federation. So it's an important bill that will decide the level of investment you're going to see in the oil and gas sector. So I'm hoping that over the next, by the time we come back on recess, maybe we will have been able to make some headway. But it's not something I'll be able to commit time now, because it's a lot of work, technical work that needs to go into it.
Yeah, but then is the definition of a host community one of the major challenges of this? Because if you listen to analysis and discussions, it would seem that even defining what or who is a host community itself is a major problem. Is that a problem for you?
I think we'll get across that one. I don't think it'll be huge. I mean, it is a problem. I don't think, but I think we've shown in this each Senate that the capacity to take on problems and find solutions to them is one of the things we've been able to do. So maybe I'm just very optimistic about some of these challenges that have always been before us in the years, that where I believe that with the kind of unity that we have in the Senate, the fact that we're all moving, that even some of the difficult ones, we tend to find ways of finding solutions to them. So I'm confident this one as well we'll find a solution to it.
Would that also be the same thing for some of the bills that are still pending in the House, and those that the Senate has
Well,
passed?
we're meeting with the House, meeting with the Senate. We're trying to see. They too have bills with us too that are pending. So we'll put up a committee led by the leaders of the two houses to see how we can hasten some of these bills that are pending with us and also pending with them, so that we can quickly have concurrence or conferences necessary to pass them. We're working on that, and we're hopeful that we'll try and clear that backlog of bills, both in the two chambers that are outstanding.
The citizens would say, what can the current Senate speak about? Is it when there are issues that, of course, you've spoken of how important it is that the legislature maintains its independence. Is it when there are such issues that suddenly the Senate becomes strengthened? And for some other issues, then there are questions to be raised about how strong the Senate is. In other words, what are those weaknesses? First, before we look at the strength, because easily you'd reel out so many things that being the strength.
The weaknesses of
this current Senate.
I think the weakness must be in the fact that we had a lot of distraction at the beginning and we lost time. I think if we didn't have that, we'll have done the constitutional amendment the first year. We'll probably have passed more bills that we have now. I think, well, I'm not sure if I can still think of any other weakness from that. I think what I would say is that there are challenges, because we're operating at a time that, again, even previous people before us have not. Now you've got the social media, you've got news is instant. So those are challenging times where you need to be able to respond to issues that are going on, and they're being communicators like that. Then you have the period also where news are what you call fake news, and sometimes things that are not true, misreporting sometimes of issues that are very sensitive. So they're challenging times, but that's not weakness. I mean, those are the points you have to live up to and adjust and adapt. And I think that we are doing that despite the kind of distraction. And don't forget, when we started off, the APC as a ruling party, we only had a majority of just about 10 to 12 in number, and being able to work under that environment. So that was a weakness on its own, because we didn't have an overwhelming majority. I mean, but since then, things have got a bit better now. So that also has been, I guess, a weakness.
Okay, challenges, you call them, not weaknesses. So if you look on the other side of it and say, yes, which would you say these are the areas that the Senate has been very strong, has come on strong to fulfill its mandate to the people?
I think what we've been able to do is address those laws that have long affected Nigerians that needed to pass to improve the country, the economy, the environment. For example, a lot of infrastructure bills that have been long outstanding, that have not been able to pass, we've been able to do that. The laws to do with improving elections, INEC bills. These are bills that normally people have voted along party lines and you never have seen the light of day. Those kind of bills don't pass through, because everybody takes his position along what favors he or her along party lines. We've been able to see that. As I said, we've been able to see bills that will help us improve the ease of business. You've looked at the bill we passed on Made in Nigeria to stimulate the economy, stimulate local production, create job creation for our people. Some of these bills are things that they might not be instant, but they're laying the platform in getting our economy turned around and getting jobs for our seeming youth.
Dr. Saraki, how does this reflect on, let's say, for instance, the Financial Intelligence Unit Bill, which some would say was record you know, it was a speedy passage. How did that come about?
Well, I think a lot of us were concerned hearing that we've been suspended from the Egmont group, and the ramifications of that and the implications of that is not good for the fight against corruption. And anything we can do to support the fight against corruption, and as such, and we knew that we were going on a recess that we probably will be away for a while, and it's better that we send the message out to the international community that yes, we believe in the issue of the autonomy of the Financial Intelligence Unit, and Parliament is supporting that. And I think by passing that bill, that message has gone straight, and already we're getting feedback from a lot of the community, forensic accountants that have come to praise us that we've sent the message out to the international community that we're strong on the fight against corruption. We will do all that is necessary to strengthen that, and that is the kind of message coming out of that, so that that suspension can be lifted and we can be back into that community of where data and information exchange, which has gone a long way in helping us in the fight against corruption. So that's also an important bill. So again, we respond, to things that that require urgency, and things that, for example, even if you look at the request of Mr. President, some of the loans that those that again we felt that we needed to address before we went on recess. So there are things that we believe are necessarily important that we work very hard to pass them through.
We'll return to that, but now that you raise the subject of some of the loans requests from the federal government, there's a particular one which catches attention. The Senate approved some of these loans. Key among them is the railway project, and this is co-funded with the China Exim Bank. Tell us about that.
Well, there's a request from government to fund the railway project, which is Chinese Exim Bank is providing a loan for, and the government is providing their counterpart. Initially, it's the Lagos-Ibadan segment of it. Then there's also Ibadan-Kano segment of it. Then there's the Calabar axis, and of course there's also the Northeast axis. So the request we had received was for all four, really, and you can imagine the kind of amount that I came up to. And so that was a challenge there in being able to see whether to approve all, but some of them were not supported by, I think, apart from one was supported by approval from the board of China Exim, which was the Lagos-Ibadan. So we said, look, since we're going on reset, let's just approve the Lagos-Ibadan that has a board approval from Chinese Exim Bank, get that, send the right message again across to China Exim Bank that we're in support of it. And the others, once we get the board approval of Chinese Exim Bank, we will support it. It is a good project. I think it will go a long way to help commercial activity, reduce cost of doing business, open development in different parts of those areas. It is good. But as we do that as well, we must, as government, also be, just keep an eye on our level of borrowing. That's also is important.
So this is the question that many Nigerians would want to raise, Senate President, that the story of the railway development project is a long and winding one, and so many times there have been commitments. So can Nigerians trust this Senate that it would go ahead with performing the due diligence oversight on how these projects are taken on?
We will do that. We will do that within the powers that we can. And that is why we would also be very prudent in looking at the costing and being sure that the project is properly costed and that it's being done properly. We've done this Lagos-Ibadan, at least. Let's do that. Let's see. They're promising to deliver, I think, by, if I'm right, at the end of 2018 or early 2019. We'll look at the submissions for the other segments and see whether they're also well costed, well designed, and we will definitely ensure that we oversee it properly. It's important, but by and large, it is a viable project. It is a project that the country needs. What we must do is to ensure that the cost of it is value for money, and the money is well efficiently spent.
As we begin to wind down, there are three things we'd like to put across to the Senate presidency. First, has been the presiding officer of the Senate, the 8th Senate. It's 2 years gone, and just gone across the halfway mark.
Yeah.
So it's thought that before you know it, this period would be over. So what would Nigerians want to look at this Senate? At the end of it, what should Nigerians look at this Senate and refer to it as having done?
I believe that one of our main focus, as one of the focus we've talked about, is the area of the economy. I think we would like to see at the end of the 8th Senate that we'll have passed legislation that definitely will make our economy stronger. We'll pass legislation that will stimulate investment in Nigeria. We'll pass legislation that will ensure jobs are created. And there are 3 already that are key to that we've already done. The made in Nigeria that we put in the public procurement bill is huge. I believe that if we can truly harness that, where government's procurement is, Nigerians are given first option to be able to patronize Nigerian goods, will go a long way to create jobs for a lot of people who don't have jobs and stimulate the industry. And that originated from the National Assembly. That is key. I think that's one of the legacies that we want the 8th Senate. Secondly, also at the back of that, is some of the bills we passed on infrastructure. Government, you see, my position and the position of the Senate is that government cannot fund all level of infrastructure. And even if government attempts to fund all the level of infrastructure, social sector will suffer, health will suffer, education will suffer. What we need to do is get government to shift its resources to social and education and let private sector come in. But private sector will not come in if they're not the right laws that they see will protect their interests and will ensure that they invest. Now, before now, all the laws we had, infrastructure, railway law was 50 years ago, ports laws many years ago, road transport, road authority, road fund, inland revenue. These are laws that we have taken up to see that we bring them in line with modern economy. We're reviewing CAMA law to ensure again that we make the process by which registration of companies for medium and small scale companies, ISA laws, investment and security. These are laws that would make it easy for SMEs to be able to do business. Now, some of those might not yield results which you see today, tomorrow. Now, it's not like you turn off the switch light on and off. But these are the foundation that years go on. People remember that those laws were passed by the Senate. Those are the kind of things that's on the economy side. On the transparency side, okay, in the Senate, we have open accounts of tenant. Okay, it took so long, but hey, it's been done now, and we'll lay the foundation for a more transparent National Assembly. This National Assembly has been the most that are engaged with the public in our public hearings, what happens in the plenary, what is feeded live on the activities that is going on. That is also part of the process to open it to Nigerians to be able to contribute, to be able to criticize, say, tell us what their views are, and then create, as I said, one of the things you also find out that we've treated more petitions in the National Assembly. We've created an avenue for Nigerians to come and say, listen, I've been wrongly treated here, I've been badly treated. So there's beginning to some accountability. People, and then also the fight against corruption. There's no agency in Nigeria that can sit on comfortable in his chair and believe that if a petition comes to the National Assembly or to the Senate, under the 8th Senate, that petition will be swept under the carpet. We take them up, we address that. If you look at the bills sent to us by Mr. President on anti-corruption, we have passed them. We've passed the whistleblower, we've passed the witness protection, mutual legal assistance. So these are major legislation that has gone a long way to strengthen our economy, strengthen the country as a whole, make it more vibrant. And also, as I said, the fundamentals of all this to strengthen the democracy itself. We must strengthen, and how do we do that? We start from the process by which how people are elected, and we do that. So, and then, of course, on top of that is the constitutional amendment also that we've done. When you look at all these different legislation, you begin to say that definitely we will have made an impact, not only for today, we'll have made an impact in defining the Nigeria of tomorrow.
Well, that's as far as the Senate is concerned. Now, what about Dr. Bukola Saraki as president of the Senate?
I'm just, as you know, the president of the Senate one amongst equal and as such.
Well,
so
you're the presiding officer, so...
I preside. I mean, to show you, I didn't even get an opportunity to vote in constitutional amendment. That shows you how, with the little power I have, I can't. But look, for me, I've always had what motivates me. I always like to leave a place better than I met it. I always like to leave a place stronger than leave the institution stronger. If at the end of my term I've made the National Assembly play its role in a democracy, the difference between democracy and dictatorship is parliament. And that's why I tell people that even if you don't like Bukola Saraki, let us separate me from the institution. We must strengthen this institution. 4 years, I'm gone. Somebody else will be there. But those institutions are important to strengthen democracy. If you have a weak parliament, you have a weak democracy. But a lot of people, because of their myopic or their self-interest, do not see the importance why we must protect those institutions. We must protect the legislature, we must protect the judiciary. When we decided to have the presidential system, it was based on the fact that there must be checks and balances. So when there are checks and balances, it strengthens the democracy. You don't want dictatorship. So when we stand for some of these issues, we're standing not for today, not for tomorrow. But it takes somebody with a strong mind, strong character, and a commitment. Because sometimes when you see the level of also blackmail, or because people are trying to push their agenda, in their spheres, you weaken the institution. Strengthening the institution, not standing for Bukola Saraki, because that institution will stay there many years after me and you are gone. But we must strengthen the institutions. If we weaken the institutions, a democracy cannot be strong. And we must always remember, even when you look at the executive, today you could have a honest, hardworking, transparent president. Tomorrow, you could have a dishonest, corrupt, not so good president. The only thing that will keep a democracy strong is the institution. So we should always remember that as we move ahead, that it's important. And the pride of every country is strength, is how your democracy, how solid it is, and the foundation that it is laid on. We must strengthen institutions, not individuals. And that is really one of the focus. And it will take time, because over the years, as you say, parliament is the newest, people have always been used. Even in the military, you always have executive, you always have judiciary. But what is new is legislative. So it's not surprising that people say, oh, what are they doing there? Oh, what value do they have? Oh, they don't have anything. So those things are things that over years, as we continue to play a role, people begin to understand the importance of it.
Exactly. That's where we were going to go. And you worry about the public perception of the legislature. I mean, you hear things like, oh, this is the worst. You see all kinds of comments and... glad that you've just said it yourself, that what are they doing there? Someone had even gone to the extent of suggesting that
this is the worst. Yeah, I heard that as well.
So how do you respond to that?
Honestly, I think either the person must be ignorant, incompetent, and really not someone that is interested in moving this country forward. Because I would like to wonder what parameter you say. We've listed. If you go by the response of the National Assembly, our main issue is the issue of passing legislation, oversight, and making a difference. And these are major legislation that we have passed that have never been done before. And then somebody gets up and says that it is the worst. And there's an example of what I talk about. People are just selfish. It's not whether you like the person who is there. That's not the issue. The issue is that we must build those institutions to ensure that our democracy is stronger.
Do you think there's still a large percentage of misunderstanding of the legislature?
I think so, and it's not going to happen it's not going to change overnight. It's going to take time because of the past. I mean, people are they're carrying a lot of perceptions, and I think it will take time when people begin to understand the role of the legislative arm of government. So it's not something that I think would happen overnight. But what I think in doing that, we must make sure that we are honest and frank in our commentaries. There's a lot of people that make those comments not because they believe in what they're saying, but they think that those are the things that those are what is their own agendas. But I think with time, people will begin to see that this is an institution that is in the interest of the entire country.
There's a pattern shot which would like you to comment on, and it has to do with this process of amending the Constitution. The APC prides itself that it is gender-friendly. I'm wondering just how many of the women folk would have been pleased with how the issue of 35% affirmative action played out.
Well, first of all, let me, you keep on referring me to the APC, because as I said, it's different if the Constitution, if in the National Assembly, the APC are 2/3. Yes. So I think we just need to, because you keep on bringing that in.
Because it's your party.
It's my party.
It's what your party has set out to do, and it is expected that however it does it, the party would find a way to galvanize support for its projects.
We have found a way. But through constitutional amendment, we needed 2/3. We could not get 2/3, okay? But what we've achieved, which I think, I mean, unfortunately, it was dwarfed in all the noise, and it was not, is the fact that a lot of people had concern that affirmative action as such should not come in the Constitution. So what we negotiated in the Senate, at least, was that, okay, there's a gender bill already coming up, which is due, which already passed second reading. That let us have a commitment that this affirmative action that we're talking about will come in the gender bill. And we got that on the floor. So I'm confident that when we come back from recess, we'll be able to bring the gender bill and pass it. And if we can bring the gender bill and pass it and achieve that, that is fantastic. Even all the countries, everywhere in the world that we're talking about gender, don't have affirmative gender thing in the Constitution. It is by law. If we can achieve that, I think as APC as a party will have delivered on that mandate. And I think as a country, we'll really truly be among the few countries that have that affirmative action by law.
So the female folk can rest assured that
I can assure
this has
them,
just not been thrown out of the window.
No, don't worry, because as I tell them, I have 3 daughters, and so I'm not resting. But look, it's something that we will do. And I think that, as I always say, we must continue to engage, because we have to understand this is a country, multi-ethnicity, more diversity, multi-religious. So we've got to be sensitive and not assume that if you don't see the way I'm thinking, then you're stupid or you don't know what you're talking about. That cannot be the attitude. Nigeria is based on what it is. We cannot run away from that. So what we should do is understand where we're coming from and use that to guide how we get our solutions. That's what we should try and do. Yes, for a lot of people to understand, yes, we must do something about this. But at the same time, they have people too that have concerns and apprehension. Call them whatever you want to call them. But they're still part of this country. You can't send them away. I can't send them away. They can't send me away. So we're all going to live in that one country. And the only way to do that, this is where the political sagacity comes from, where we must be able to sit down and say, okay, despite it. And that's what we're able to work out in the sense, okay, you know what? Right. Okay, we will not put it in the Constitution. But do you concede in principle that this is what we want? We're able to extract that. Yes. Okay, fine. Let's put it in the law then. If we get that, to me, we have done a great achievement as a country. Because when you list many countries, there are not many countries that have even been able to achieve that. So what we're even targeting in the Constitution will have taken us, many countries that we look up to doing or having in the Constitution. So if we can achieve this, but what I'm appealing is while we're trying to achieve this, we need everybody. Let's not begin to address those that didn't support it, because we still need them. This is why I said that the process in Parliament, people need to understand it. We need people. We need to engage. For as long as they're still sitting on that seat at the end of their tenure, we need them. We need their support. So what we should try and do is how we can convince them that this bill is the interest of all of us. And that is the work I'm doing. And I'm hopeful that, by the time we come back, we should be able to celebrate that.
Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki, it's been interesting talking to you.
Thank you so much.
We hope to ask you to come again some other time and find out so many other issues.
All right, thank you so much.
Right. And that is our program. Thank you for watching. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.